if you guys feel stuck about moving to Costa Rica, first, let's start with closing the chapter on the United States. So stick with me all the way to the end today, and I'll give you mistakes that people make and the tips that people should do when people consider closing the chapter in the United States and moving to Costa Rica. Let's get into it. So ideally, if you want to move to Costa Rica, the first thing you should do after, yes, your why, your budget, you actually want to close the chapter of the United States so that you can focus on your new life in Costa Rica. The mistake that people make is not having real dates. You'll hear them say, oh, in 2 years, I'm going to move to Costa Rica. In 3 years, I'll be there. And they're not actually realistic dates. Why is this important? Because when you don't have realistic dates, life will get in the way. As life just sets in and takes its natural course, you have birthdays, you have holidays, you have things you have to do at work that are maybe new projects. And so your focus completely gets diverted from Costa Rica and back onto the normal checklist and the routine. Unless you have a plan with actual dates, your dream of moving to Costa Rica will just simply fizzle out. Tip number 1, in order to move to Costa Rica, you're going to have to close a chapter in the United States. You're going to create a realistic calendar that marches you to Costa Rica. And in this calendar, you're going to have items that cancel low-hanging fruit items such as a gym membership that you just never used in the last 6 months. And different things like television subscriptions that you're not using. You're good with the 3 that you use, but the other 10 that you, one day when I get to, you want to get rid of those as well. And you're going to start making a list of all the things that you can start closing off and getting rid of so that honestly all that money gets moved into helping you move to Costa Rica. But more importantly, it helps release your commitment of things you have to do. Mistake number 2. I'll wait till the kids get older and then we can move to Costa Rica. So waiting for your kids to get older does not constitute a date, nor does it constitute a plan. And what's worse, it gives all the power to your kids to determine when you can have your future. And depending on what age they are, this can be disastrous. Your kids are always going to be getting older. After the teenage years, they're going to be off to college, hopefully one day getting married. And here's the part that's going to get you. Grandkids. And trust me, if everything goes to plan, you're not going to outlive the grandkids. So your dream of moving to Costa Rica has completely vanished. Tip number 2, plan Costa Rica with your kids in mind. If in your mind Costa Rica is a problem or a hindrance to how you want to bring up your kid, you may need to revisit on how you view Costa Rica and your kids. So right now, if everything that I said lines up to your worries and your fears, that means in your mind, it's Costa Rica or your kids. The way to solve that, it's Costa Rica and my kids. If your kids are younger, you definitely want to have a heart-to-heart conversation with them. And you're going to talk about the things that maybe they want to see and visit in Costa Rica. Maybe they're excited about nature and animals and volcanoes, and they love the beach and they love the summer. So you have a conversation about all the different benefits that they get. You can let them know about, being able to speak in a different language. So when they visit back to the United States, they're going to actually have 2 languages and know about different cultures and to be able to expand, which will help them later on in life. Make plans with your kids. So if you talked about visiting different sites, volcanoes and beaches, then actually honor that agreement and take your kids out to have the experience that they dream of in living in Costa Rica. If you also talked about coming back to the United States and celebrating certain holidays or certain events, birthdays, whatever it is, then honor that as well. And let them know that just because you moved to Costa Rica doesn't mean that the United States is out. This would be no different than if you went to the other side of the United States and your family was on the opposite side, that you are going to come back every once in a while and see your family. In addition, you can actually have your family come to Costa Rica, which will be better. So now everybody gets a vacation. If done right, moving to Costa Rica can be very beneficial for your kids. They'll learn new culture, new languages, and they will see and learn different things about the land that they just really wouldn't have in the United States. As a parent, you're going to have to make the ultimate decision, of course, but you want to show them that, hey, there's more to life than just this area. If your kids are older, then honestly, I have some questions for you. The first question is, what would you do if your kids went to college abroad? How would you change your life? If your kids wanted to go to, let's say, Spain, you would begin to tailor your life so that you can see them as much as you can. And honestly, it's a scenario where you've given the power and the keys to your kids. But you both also have lives. So if your kids are older and you want to move to Costa Rica, then the power stays in your hand and you make provisions in ways that you can both still see each other and you can be a part of their life. And in this way, you guys are working together on to live out both of your dreams. If your child's dream is to stay in the United States and yours is in Costa Rica, then you're actually working together on how you're going to visit. If they're in college, this is even a double bonus for them, because when they're on their breaks, they can actually get away to a real place. They can, when they say they're heading to the beach for the summer, they could be heading to Costa Rica. So my suggestion is to include them into the picture. If they're broke and they're in college, set aside travel money so that they can come and visit you, so that there's no excuse that, oh, I don't have any money to do that. Well, set aside the money so that they can actually take the trip to see you and visit you. And for the rest of the year, ask yourself this question. My child is in college. Is there someone else in the family that can help out? Now, I don't mean put all the responsibility on your college kid on someone else, but when I was in college, I lived about 9 hours from my parents. And when I had a weekend off, I was not driving 9 hours to go see my parents. But my cousin happened to live an hour up the road. And so she was a big benefit for me because it got me off of campus when I needed to be, and I was around family. And sometimes we don't actually think of how important that can be, not just necessarily getting to us, but is there someone else in the family that you're not thinking of that is close while you're in Costa Rica that they can actually, visit and be part of when they're on their mini little breaks. As far as the long breaks, again, they can visit you in Costa Rica, or they can take other things like internship, which meant you weren't going to be in the picture to begin with. Not in a bad way, but they're actually growing and they're doing things. Again, when I was in college, I had internships where I would spend the whole summer actually at another location, and I wouldn't even have a chance to go home. So if my family and my mom and dad were just waiting around for me to get there, I've already started another chapter in my life, and that didn't allow me to go home in that particular summer. So if your kids are older and they're married, there's grandkids on the way, then set aside money that you can actually go visit them and still be connected and part of their lives. Now, if you have brought them here while they were younger, then maybe they're in Costa Rica with you and they've got some remote job. What I would recommend the most is that you don't wait. Whatever your decision is, make that decision. Too many times I hear the story of, well, we moved to Costa Rica, but we got sad and lonely and we moved back because we missed our grandkids. That meant that they really waited for a time in their life where they weren't accustomed to moving to Costa Rica, and now that chapter is essentially closed because they had to move back for their grandkids. If they would have made a decision sooner in life, they would have had more time to actually experience Costa Rica and maybe have brought their kids along with the part of that journey. Mistake number 3. I'll wait until I get to Costa Rica to figure out what I'm going to do at my house. This is a big mistake for a lot of people. Why is this important? Because it forces you to have one hand in the United States while the other hand is in Costa Rica. Imagine sitting on the beach in Costa Rica, enjoying the sun, the breeze, and getting a call on your cell phone about the snow that damaged your property, and there's no one to take care of it, and you need to make an emergency trip to the United States to deal with this problem. That would be very stressful, to say the least. Tip number 3 is to make a decision before you leave. Now, obviously, there's a whole bunch of decisions, and it's up to that unique person to actually make the final decision for themselves. But here's a few things you could do. First, the easiest, and it's kind of what I did, was I sold the house. I knew that I wasn't going to take care of it. I didn't want to deal with certain things, and so I just sold the house, took the money, and repurposed it for what I wanted to do in life. And honestly, the market, the way it was going, it was very beneficial to do it at the time. And the second option, and yes, I'm oversimplifying, is you want to have a property manager. You're going to keep the house. And so you want someone to be able to watch your house, take care of it, get the services that it needs to get clean, especially if you're going to do an Airbnb or maybe rent it out for a year. You want to have someone that's taking care of the property, so when there's a call late at night, it's not you. You get the update the next day. And lastly, family. And while I say family, it's probably the people's first thought. Oh, I'll just give it to my son. I'll just give it to my sister. If you pick the wrong family and they're only there because of relationships, this actually could be a hard thing. If you have a sister that doesn't pay her rent and you're just gonna say, hey, she can stay in my place, yeah, then you're gonna realize that you're gonna have to still pay her rent, and now she has your place. And if anything goes wrong on top of that, you're gonna have that fixed and pay the rent. And so you really want to choose well. Just be aware of, the type of family members, especially for people like your mom. Now, you may love your mom, but if your mom calls you up and says, hey, this light bulb's out, I need you to come, send somebody to go change this light bulb, and you're like, it's gonna cost me $300 to change a 50-cent light bulb. Now, your client, you would have said no, use a ladder. But your mom, you're like, well, it's just going to cost me $300. So again, you want to actually make sure that you're picking the right person for your house. And that's where a good property manager comes in, that you can actually get people that will pay the rent. And if they don't, then it's their responsibility to get them out. So if you want to know more about moving and living in Costa Rica, I want you to click on these 2 videos right here and click that notification bell because I'll be dropping videos every week. So see you on the other side.